Beyonce fan, you can't tell me you're not feeling. I told you what she say? Daddy Alabama, my mama Louisiana. You mix that Creole with that Negro, get a Texas Bama. I like my baby hairs with baby hairs and afros. I'm sorry, I love it. You don't have to like it. I love it. Ooh, good rising, good rising. Hit it, B. Get it, B. Not even a B fan. But I love that song. So let's just jump right into it. I'm so sorry. I was on a music thing right now. My bad. As far as weather is concerned, they always lie, make me into a liar. They still get paid. I do not. High at 39 today, low at 21. PM snow showers. Tomorrow, same thing. PM snow showers, low at 31, high at 31, low at 7. Friday, we're looking at a high at 27, low of 13, partly cloudy throughout the day. And this weekend, AM clouds, PM sun. So they say high of a 17, low of a 1. And Monday, we're looking at a high of 30, low of 23, mostly cloudy throughout the day. As far as traffic is concerned, there is a heck of a lot of construction going on. I didn't know we had this much construction going on overnight because there were red and yellow dots all over this damn screen. Now, if you're coming from the Braintree Quincy split, be mindful because there is the ramp is closed due to an accident. This is I-93 South. Give me a second. Let me pull this down for you. There's another accident. Roads are closed on Route 18 between Route 139 Randolph and North Avenue Pond Street. I have no idea what this has to do with the road being closed on, there it is, Chuckabutt Road. But there's also another one, I-93 South. It's causing, if you're coming from the Brockton area, this is causing a huge backup. They're down to 20 miles an hour all the way from that 138 split all the way into the Braintree Quincy split. And then if you're coming from the Weymouth area, the Cape area, they're down to 14 miles an hour. And then this progresses all the way into the city, and everybody is already backed up at this hour, which is uncalled for. It's uncalled for because the streets are clean. I guess everybody's trying to be somewhere. So get to where you need to go, baby, so you're not stuck in this traffic that is really early and really congested already. Remember I talked about Martin Shkreli yesterday. I discussed how disgusted I was with him and how he was talking at the congressional testimony to Elijah Cummings and to other politicians that were asking him questions, and he was invoking his Fifth Amendment right. He said the only thing that I regret about the congressional testimony is that I forgot to bring my Nintendo DS. I wish you could see my face right now. Can somebody please smack this boy? Oh, speaking about boy, they call Cam Newton a boy. I'm calling Martin Shkreli a boy. There's a time and a place for everything, and Cam Newton was not that time nor that place. But Martin Shkreli is so unrepentant about his ridiculous appearance, the way that he spoke to our politicians. It was a congressional testimony. Listen, we need to discuss the fact that he took a pill from $13 to over $1,000, and you have nothing to say. You want to invoke your Fifth Amendment right? There's a time and a place, and I can't. The only thing I regret is not bringing my Nintendo DS. Lord have mercy. But you know what? Karma is what? And just wait, because karma's going to come back, and I would not be surprised. I don't speak this into this man's life. I just wouldn't be surprised if it happened, if he was one of these cancer patients that were unable to get any type of treatment and ended up succumbing to his disease. It's stuff like this that gets you all types of hemmed up. New Hampshire, where my baby at? Where my baby at? She said she was going to call in. Come on, Hillary. Where you at, Hillary? Feel the bird. Feel the bird. Do you feel the bird? I feel the bird. Hillary, where you at? Boo. Call 617-282-0062. In all seriousness, New Hampshire votes, and it's Hillary who feels the burn first. Record turnout predicted as Donald Trump is set to sail to the Republican victory. Dun, 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 dun. Lord have mercy. That's scary. That is, here she go. Here my baby go. Daddy Alabama, Mama Louisiana. Hey, baby. Hi. They felt the burn last night, baby.
No, we already knew that he was going to win New Hampshire. We knew that early on. But you have to remember, that's one. When they go to Nevada and South Carolina, you're going to see. You have to win the Democratic Party in order to run for president. And you're going to see that Bernie is not going to have enough money to keep going. He has the majority of the young people, but it's going to change. It's going to change. And go Hillary. And I did want to make a comment. You always are on the radio talking about Hillary, and Bernie did receive some money for his speaking. He did give it to charity, but you still received it. So stop always talking about what Hillary's doing and do your due diligence and make sure that you know what your Bernie is doing. He was the chairman of the VA when he was a senator, and he didn't do all that he could do for them veterans. And all he said was, we could have did better. So he's not this golden boy that you keep portraying on the radio. But in the end, we're going to see who's going to be the Democratic Party.
We certainly will. But you know what? Tayla ain't squeaky clean either. We all got demons in our closet, and we all can do better. But let me tell you one thing, baby. He is the only candidate that actually pays his intern. That's not okay. He's the only one.
Make sure that you keep saying negative stuff about Hillary, but make sure you bring to light what Bernie's not doing. Not all that he's doing, but what he hasn't done.
You know why she mad? You know why she mad?
Everybody has their opinion, but you always trash talking Hillary, finding stuff on her, and that's fine because it's out there to be read. But also make sure that you bring to light what Bernie hasn't done. Also, on top of what he is doing. So things sound good, and that's with everybody. But then when you get in office, then what happens?
Bam, and we gonna leave it right there.
A good day, Tayla. I love you, and you have an excellent day.
I love you, baby. I appreciate you. Go, Bernie. Healthy debate. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. No need for name callings. You like who you like. I like who I like, and together we will hopefully get more people to vote. Because at the end of the day, I really don't care who you vote for, as long as you rock the vote, vote or die, get out and vote. We have another caller on the line. Good, rise and caller, you live.
Hey, how are you doing?
Super fantastic.
Okay. Interesting. Every time I meet the Hillary supporters, they're in three groups: bitter, single African American women, pool pimps, and the other people who basically come into our neighborhood and tell us, "Oh, vote for this person. They care about us. They get their paychecks, and we retire to the suburbs and the nice homes." Here's the irony about the bitter black woman who's voting for Hillary. Bill Clinton has a black child that no one's heard about. You can Google it. I'm not making this up. You can see a picture of this kid. His mom was a crack prostitute in Arkansas that he had a baby with, and he sent them out to Australia somewhere to keep them out of the media. So these same women who are talking about how there's no good men in our neighborhood are going to support a woman who's married to a guy who's a serial rapist, has a black kid that he won't even claim. I find that so ironic and hypocritical. But that's typical of why their sons grow up to be jailbirds. I wish there was an aptitude test to take before you can vote in this country.
So that's another that's another topic for another day, as far as like, you know what? You said an aptitude test for people before they vote. How about we take an aptitude test before you can have kids, all right? Because not everybody needs children either. But the Constitution is set the way that it is. We have the rights that we have in order to vote in this country. It is what it is. And as we've seen, there's no altering that. So We do have another caller on the line, 617-282-0062. Don't think for a second that I have no rebuttal. It means that I agree. What I am doing is allowing people to voice their opinion. I don't have to agree with you, ever. But I don't also have to go back and forth about it. We don't have to do that either. So you can state your opinion. I have mine. And we have another caller on the line, 617-282-0062. Good Rising, caller, you're live.
I want a rebuttal with this one here is saying he is so exhausting. Every time he calls, I go, OMG. As much as he's a damn racist, he needs to listen to what he's saying. He's one too. And I'm not single and I don't have a son, I have a daughter. So tell him to stop stereotyping people and get it together. He's always talking about negative stuff. He needs to be talking about positive stuff. So again, just make sure everybody goes out and vote. That is their right. And go America.
Ashe, ashe. We have another call on the line. Hopefully they're not bashing Mr. Negative. His name is, someone honestly dubbed him Mr. Negative months ago. So he is who he is. You know what? I love and appreciate him for being who he is. Okay? So can we not bash each other? It's too early in the rising for this. Mr. Negative, I am not taking no negative. We are not doing this today. Okay? Good Rising, caller, you're live. Hi, good rising, my love.
Girl. 2 nights in life, guaranteed. Argument with religion and politics. Okay?
Yes.
These people come up, they promise us the whole entire world. Okay? We can only trust our judgment.
Yeah.
And may they be faithful and true with some of the stuff that they're putting on the board right now.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. When it comes to politics and religion, we die and kill over religion. And politics is just another religion because people live and die by it. So you're absolutely right. I'm so glad, but we're not going to argue. We're going to go ahead. Those opinions are out there. You can take them at face value. You don't have to believe them to be true. Again, it's opinion, not fact. But I thank you, baby.
Whoever makes it in, may they make some changes for the better.
I pray. Ashe, ashe. Anari said, I hope you got your money ready. I said, for what? He said, because if Donald Trump becomes president, I'm leaving. I was like, what about me? He was like, I hope you have your money ready. I'm wondering what kind of money Anari got stashed away. If you asking me if I'm ready, how you ready? That's my baby. Rick Schneider may be recalled for his unconstitutional takeover of schools. This isn't even about Flint's water. So I'm trying to understand how he's even still governor. How are you still the governor? But he may be recalled not because of the Flint incident, but because of the hostile takeover of schools. Michigan officials have approved the circulation of a petition seeking to recall Michigan Governor Rick Schneider, that snake, but not over the Flint water crisis that has been dominating the headlines in recent weeks, but instead the petition focuses on his decision to take control of schools. At issue in the petition is Snyder's executive order to bring the Office to Reform Schools under the control of the State Department of Technology / Management and Budget. That decision gives the governor's office more power to close schools, turn traditional public schools into charter schools, or replace school staff. The Board of Education says that move violates the state's constitution, which does not provide the governor with direct control of schools. Wow. So Rick Schneider's just going to rock out with his huevos out. And I'm trying to understand where he thought he had this power to do what he wants. I do what I want. So far, in 180 days, it has collected 789,133 signatures needed to allow for the ballot measure to be recalled as governor. Please. I'm going to find this petition. We're going to post it on the Wake Up with Tayla Andre show. Somebody please sign the petition. Please sign it. I don't care if we don't matter because we don't live in Michigan. Just sign the petition. Because I stand in solidarity. That man does not need to hold any form of office. He doesn't need to hold what's between his legs. Like, he doesn't need to be able to hold anything. It was slow genocide. You over here killing people. There's a woman who, Black Princeton professor says she was handcuffed to a table over a parking ticket. You heard that right. A Black Princeton professor is protesting her arrest during a traffic stop last week, saying she was mistreated because of her race by two officers that were not melanin related. Imani Perry was arrested over a parking ticket that is over 3 years old, but yet Rick Schneider can bring, how many people died in Michigan? 10 people? 10 people died because of the Flint water crisis. 10 people died, lost their lives, and this woman's being arrested for a parking ticket. Welcome to America. I don't understand. I truly do not get it. So forgive me if I'm not. And you want to talk about Michigan a little bit more? How about Michigan Senate passed a bill banning oral and anal sex? I want to give a shout out to one of my followers on Facebook, Mr. White. Mr. White said, well, I guess the entire Senate needs to be arrested because they just bleeped the people of Michigan. Thank you, Mr. White. You are also right. I went ahead and I posted this story yesterday, had a few comments on it, and people were like, are you serious? Who is going to make sure that this doesn't happen? Who's going to be in your bedroom? Not who's in your wallet. Who's in your closet? Watching what you do and then reporting you so you could spend up to 15 years in jail. Yes, this is a real thing. Michigan Senate has passed a bill that outlaws both oral and anal sex and classifies this as a felony. Michigan already has a state law that punishes anal sex with prison up to 15 years. The U.S. Supreme Court, however, decided in the 2003 case Lawrence versus Texas that these laws are inherently unconstitutional. They invalidated them in 13 states, but the Michigan legislature pointed out that the ban would only be constitutional if it targeted homosexuals. Well, what they're saying is this bill is for everybody. They explain that this new law would target anyone, regardless of their sexual orientation, if they engage in heterosexual, anal sex, or oral sex too. This goes for you. Dun, 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 dun. Are you serious? Are you serious? Who's in your closet? Because there was another comment on Facebook that said, so who's being arrested today from the Senate because their interns are Bill Cosby? Not Bill Cosby. It's Bill Clinton them. Who's Monica Lewinsky? Somebody in the Senate? Anybody? Somebody? You're going to jail today. How you not? This doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Michigan Senate passes a bill banning oral and anal sex. Violators could face up to 15 years in prison. And it's a felony. But yet, let's go back to Rick Schneider, the governor of this same state, who poisoned and killed over 10 people. We don't even know the number as far as the poison, people who have been poisoned, people who are losing their hair, people with skin diseases, people with all type of internal issues. We don't even have a number on that yet. They haven't even been able to calculate all of the ailments people have over the year. Because remember, military officials were already drinking bottled water. What was it, 2 months, 90 days? It was like 72 days after they found out all state and city officials were drinking out of bottled water. We still don't know who's been affected. And I'm disgusted. I'm completely disgusted. But we can go ahead and arrest a woman over a parking ticket that happened 3 years ago. Welcome to America. I need a drop. Where them DJs at? I need a Welcome to America drop when I have to read these asinine stories. Like, they're moronic. They just don't make sense sometimes. Shout out to the woman who attended her own funeral. Her husband tried to have her killed, and she showed up to the funeral. Hey, I hope you get your money back, son. I really hope you get your $7,000 because it didn't work out the way you thought it was going to work out. Lord have mercy. I wish he would. I'd show up too. Actually, you know what I would do? I would speak to the people who are having me buried. I would lay in the casket, and when people are like, she looks like she's still here, I'll just sit up and be like, you're coming with me. I give him a heart attack at the funeral. You thought I was dead? That's okay. I'm gonna let you believe I'm dead, and you coming with me. I'm gonna haunt you forever. I would have showed up, popped out of his closet like I was a ghost and haunted him. Lord have mercy. Hey, it is what it is. She says, surprise, I'm still alive. That's hilarious. I'm sorry. Local hospitals are phasing out nurseries in maternity wards. So some people are saying this is a good thing. Some people are saying this is a bad thing. Some people are saying, listen, the baby should never leave its mother in the first place. I don't understand why nurseries were even invented. The nursery is in the room with the mother. And some people are saying, listen, moms have it really bad. They need a time out. That nursery is for recovery time. And I get it because I had two of them. So I completely understand. But I was that mom that was like, nursery what? You better bring my baby here. Oh, Tayla, you don't have to do nothing. Whatever you can do to the baby, you can do it right here. You took them out of me right here. So you can go ahead and do what you need to do right here. I don't know, but I was hopped up on drugs. So they could have taken a Nari real quick or a Sari real quick without me knowing. But recovery time is real. I think mothers do need that rest. And for moms that don't have that family support or the father in their child's life, and then all of a sudden, one mother in one room has the daddy there, the grandmother there, the aunties, the uncles, the tios, everybody's there. And she can go ahead and rest versus the mom next door who has nobody and can't rest. So I'm kind of on the fence with this one. I think it should be optional. I don't think they should go ahead and phase out access to nurseries. But I do think that mothers and parents should have more control over what goes on between the child. Because I do remember my sister being told what she can and she can't do and what time the baby needs to be back into the nursery. And I think that the parents should have more control over that, and nurseries should be optional, not mandatory, and they shouldn't be phased out, but they're as a backup. If mom does need rest, they should serve that purpose. So that's what it is as far as news is concerned. I had one more for you. Counselors would levy a new 1% tax on Boston property owners for affordable housing and parks. So City Councilor Michael Flattery at large and Andrea Campbell from Dorchester wanted to ask voters to approve an increase in local property tax to help pay for construction of affordable housing and preserve open space. At their regular meeting today, councilors will consider a request from the two to start the process towards a referendum on the provision of the State Community Preservation Act that would let the city levy a 1% surcharge on residents and commercial property in the city for the acquisition, creating the preservation of open space. Pause. I get it. I do. I get it. But when we have Dr. Mel King, and I call him doctor because he already earned that name. When we have Dr. Mel King going through turmoil with housing, when we have some of our leaders going through turmoil with housing, when we have our grandparents, our parents going through turmoil in housing, and they already own their house. They already paid their dues, but their taxes are so high that they can't keep the house that all of their children grew up in. I don't think a 1% tax needs to be levied on grandma down the street who's still fighting and has been fighting for the past 25 years to keep her house. I don't think she needs to pay another 1%. What I do think we need to do is tap into some of these colleges, some of these universities, some of these hospitals, and we need to tap them on the shoulder and ask them to go ahead and preserve open space and ask them to contribute to construction? How dare we ask the residents, and some of them are most vulnerable residents, to levy even a half a cent, a half a penny when they already paid their dues? I had a woman who came in getting her taxes done the other day who said, can you explain to me why my house is already paid for? I paid the taxes when I bought the house, but why I got to still pay taxes on the house? That's my house. And they over here telling me that they could take my house away, but it's mine just because I don't have the money for the taxes. And she's absolutely right. I don't care if that house been paid off for 65 years and you owe taxes on it, and the taxes are $22. You don't pay them $22. There's all type of fees and penalties and everything else and interest. And if you don't pay that, it piles up and you might as well be paying for another mortgage. And if you don't pay it, it will become the property of the state. I don't know the answer, Sway. I don't know why that's a real thing. Welcome to America. I wish I had a DJ to go ahead and make me a drop. So Power Hour, one of the things really, really quickly that I wanted to say was that yesterday I was listening to the show, and our special guest had a really deep, raspy voice. We couldn't hear everything that he was saying. The phone lines weren't working properly. We had a lot going on, and it could have worked out better. Like, I would have liked the show to have been better yesterday. But one of the things, Reggie B, that we talked about or that we discussed was, we lost the special guest, but we can help find ourselves. And while listening to the show, I realized how important it is for us to teach our children how to navigate, even when they don't have teachers teaching them properly, even when we are not there to help and guide them, even if they're in college and don't have that professor that is attentive. We have to teach our children to be their own leaders and their own finders of self. And yesterday, it made me realize that we cannot rely on other people ever to give us the education that we feel we deserve. And I'm not talking about race. I'm not talking about public education, but I'm talking overall. We cannot rely on anybody, not our parents, not our teachers, not our professors, not our special guests to give us the information we want. We have to go within and seek on the outside and find whatever it is that we are looking for. We cannot rely on another person to give it to us when we ourselves are not invested in our own education. And we need to teach our children to be just as invested as we are. Reggie, you wanted to say something, Bill?
Yeah, all those points you just made are absolutely correct. But I mean, what is it going to take for these parents to understand and to hear what you're saying? That's the thing. When are they going to understand? When are they going to get it? Because they're not getting it, because they're not doing it. They're not doing it. And they're failing their children. Absolutely. And then their children are going to fail their children. It's going to be a generational curse. That's where we're at right now. But until the parents wake up and try to do something, if you don't know how to do something, find out how to do something. Learn how to do something. That's what you got to do. And if you don't, then your child going to be just like you. When they have kids, or children, should I say, their children going to be just like them. And it's going to be because nobody stepped up.
Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed.
I knew you was going to go there with that song. Like, for real.
Thinking ahead. World is filled so. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's okay. I like that voice better than the other one.
Hey.
That was cool right there. I like that.
Okay, fine.
Low tone.
Leave me alone, Reggie B. So we have an amazing guest today. I want to give a shout out to the callers on line 1 and 2. We currently are going to be speaking to Dr. Renee Powell, America's golf royalty. She was in the Golfers Digest, the LPGA, the PGA of America's First Lady of Golf, celebrating Clearview. I don't know if you guys remember the meme, but I posted up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Her daddy is a black man in the mid-60s who was not allowed to play at the local golf club. So he built, local country clubs. So he built his own golf course using his own land and taught the neighborhood kids to golf for free. We have Dr. Renee Powell on the line. When I tell you this is History Month, Black History Month, this is oh so real. Good rising, my queen. How are you?
I had a long trip back yesterday from the West Coast, but I woke up in time to call you this morning.
Well, we definitely do thank you, Miss Powell.
And let me tell you, my dad actually built the golf course back in 1946.
Ooh. So we got our facts wrong, Miss Powell. I apologize.
So it was like we're celebrating the 70th year of the birth of Clearview this year. And it wasn't country clubs he wasn't allowed to play on, it was public golf courses.
Wow.
1946 was a year.
After he was a World War II veteran, came back from World War II and realized that golf wasn't, he had been playing since he started playing when he was 9 years old, and when he came back, found out he wasn't welcome at the area golf courses here, and that's when he felt the only thing that he could do was to try to find a way to build a golf course to allow everyone an opportunity to participate in the sport that he loved. And you're right, all the neighborhood kids were able to play, and yeah, it goes back a long time.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's dope.
That's amazing. So, Miss Renee Powell, for those who don't know, let's rewind a little bit. So I had my facts wrong. The golf course was built in 1942, correct? 1946. He wasn't allowed to play on a public golf course. Where did he play? If he wasn't
actually grew up in a small town 10 miles from where Clearview is now. And their family was the only family of color in the entire town. And there was a golf course being built when he was 9 years old, and he learned to play, and he caddied also at that same time, at that same age. So everyone knew the Powell family in the town. So, they were welcome, and he was welcome to play that course. He and his older brother started the first golf team that they ever had there. He played as the captain of the golf. He was the captain of the golf team. He was the coach of the team, and he was the number one player. But after high school, he had scheduled all the matches. But after high school, he then wasn't allowed and wasn't welcome at the same area courses that he had played as a member of the golf team.
Was there any specific reason for this?
Well, the specific reason was the color of his face.
So he was able to play there once before, but then when he came back, he wasn't able to play. Like, what altered or what changed?
Well, he was able to play that same golf course, but other area courses he was not welcome at.
Miss Renee Powell, we've been learning a lot about Black history this month, and I want to say a lot of norms or laws or what people followed as rules, it didn't make sense. How did your father deal with, the things that just didn't make sense, like this, not just not fair, but it just didn't make common sense?
Well, even when he went away to the military, and we had a black and white army up until 1945 when President Truman integrated the armed forces. So when he went away, he was in the European theater in Scotland. So he was in Scotland and England, but he was in an all-black army. And even though they were fighting for the same thing. That is how it was at the time, but it wasn't that anyone liked it. His grandfather had been a slave. So, as time progressed, so my dad, when he came back from World War II as a veteran, and he tried to apply to get a GI loan, people told him there was no such thing as a GI loan. And different people in his town, different guys said, no, you can go to this bank or that bank. He couldn't, because as I said, their family was the only black family in the town. And actually today, one of his sisters is the only black adult in that same town, because it hasn't changed much.
In 2016, Miss Renee Powell. In 2016.
You heard her.
16, and my grandfather first moved to that town in 1919. It's almost 100 years ago. So, but when my dad came back, and then when he was overseas in Scotland and England, the people let him play. They would loan him golf clubs to play on his own, on different golf courses there. And he came back to the U.S. and found out that things still had not changed. And so that's when he made a decision that he was going to try to put fairness into what he thought needed to be done. And he loved golf so much, and he felt that he was not going to be denied. And having fought for his country, coming back and doing something that he absolutely loved, that was a nice, wholesome, clean sport, he decided he was going to make a difference.
What about yourself, Miss Renee? What about your PGA professional? What about your career as a golfer? And how did your father's influence in your life guide you towards golf? Was that something that you were always interested in, or was it your dad's love that made you love the game?
Well, my dad actually taught me the game. He was my only instructor my entire life. And he put a golf club in my hand at the age of 3. So I learned to play golf young. I mean, it was sort of second nature, like walking, talking, playing golf. And I have done it my entire life. And if you pick something up early on, you usually, you start, you love it, you enjoy it. And he, I think, had felt that he wanted the things that he was able to do, he really saw through me and taught me the game. I played junior golf, I played collegiate golf, amateur golf, and then eventually played on the LPGA tour and did that for 13 years. And it was back in I was a long time ago. I played on tour from 1967 to 1980. And so it was at a time when it was sort of a tumultuous time in our country. In the 60s, we had a lot of unsteadiness in the country, a lot of racial issues. I mean, I would go into some restaurants and they would serve everybody else, but they wouldn't serve me, or they would lose my reservations at hotels. I used to get a lot of threat letters on my life. So there were a lot of not very pleasant things back in that time when I was playing golf on tour. But my parents had taught me and given me a pretty strong backbone, and we all stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. And people have made sacrifices back in their days for each and every one of us. And so I guess it taught me a never give up attitude, and that you have to make things better for those to come behind you.
Thank you. Beautiful. We have in the building Reggie B sometimes comes in the building with myself and helps co-host, and he has a question for you, Miss Renee Powell.
Miss Powell, good morning to you. Well, actually, good rising.
Good rising.
Station is good rising, not good morning. But listen, my question to you is, have you ever played, when you played golf, best ball? And if you did, what was the best score in the group that you played?
Best ball. I don't think I've ever played best ball. Well, I mean, I've played things like, scrambles, but not where we each kept our own golf ball and then to see what the lowest score was. No, I mean, I've played on my own ball, shot 60, 64.
That's good.
What's the highest you got?
No, I've not played in a group where we're just doing that. I mean, I played scrambles where you play the best ball of the the, from the best position.
Yes. Okay.
So forgive my ignorance, because you and Reggie are speaking a different language to me right now. Could you explain how golf works? Because, I'm going to be 100% honest, Miss Powell. To me, golf is boring, and it's boring because I don't understand. But I want to understand. I have an uncle that is a huge golf fan, and I'm like, that's one of those sports. And he's like, okay, baby girl, you missing out. So I would love if you could explain a little bit to the listeners how exactly golf works, because my definition of golf is, I'm thinking, how do you take one little ball, hit it so many yards, and get a hole in one in this itty bitty hole, and people don't know how to thread needles? Like, how does this work?
You're right. And that doesn't happen all the time. In all the years I played, I've had 3 hole-in-ones, and that's it. But
that's a lot.
Attempt to swing at the ball, you don't have to hit it, but every time you even attempt to swing at it, it counts 1 stroke. And then those all add up. You play 18 holes, 18 different holes. And at the end of the 18 holes, or even if you play a 9-hole round, you add up every shot that you made, attempt you made, and that's your score. Now, the ideal in golf is to get the fewest number of strokes, not the highest. If they're playing football or basketball, they're trying to score higher. In golf, you're trying to score lower. But I would say this to most people who say that oh man, I don't like golf. I've never played. I don't like it. They're the ones that get hooked the most. So if you go out and you try to play it, you're going to find that do you like the outdoors at all?
I love outdoors. And if I may be transparent, I used to collect golf balls as a child. So I grew up on a farm, and directly behind our farm was a golf course. But it took you some time to get there. So some of those balls they travel, and we were nowhere close to behind. Just, there were some acres between us and the golf course, and we used to find golf balls all the time. Shout out to my cousin Gina, who used to take us on walks around the golf course. And that was the closest that I've ever been. No. As an adult, I did a little miniature golfing, but that was the closest I've ever been to golfing. But I do enjoy the outdoors. I just don't understand the game, and that can sway your decision of whether or not you like something if you don't understand it.
Well, Miss Powell, it sounds like Tayla has to take some lessons this spring and summer coming, doesn't it?
Hey.
And we have Franklin Park. I'm sorry, Miss Powell. We have Franklin Park, which has a golf course right across the street from the radio station. She has no excuse.
Okay, fine. She said, "Oh my God."
So next time I talk to you this summer, I want to know and hear that you have at least gone out to swing the golf club.
Yes, ma'am.
You're gonna go with me. You're gonna go.
Lord.
Tell a story real quick.
Go ahead.
Miss Powell, I'm gonna make you laugh before I go to work. The first time I played golf was 2006, and I went to a private golf course up in Western Mass. I forget the name of the town, but it was so funny because they had like models at each hole that had a car, and if you got a hole in one, that car was yours. I never got a hole in one, but I'm gonna tell you something. This is the funny part. When I set up the tee and I put the ball on the tee, and I forget what number hole we were at. My stance, everything was perfect. My eye was on the ball. I went to swing at the ball, and I looked up out over the sky, and my whole team started laughing at me. And I was like, "What y'all laughing at?" I looked down. I took a chunk of the grass, and the ball was still on the tee. It didn't go nowhere.
And you know what? And you think, wow, this is an easy game.
It's
the ball's not moving. It won't move until you move.
Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing, Reggie B. Thank you. Miss Powell, how do we get our children more involved? Because golf is a very lucrative sport. It's not as popular. Well, I don't believe it's as popular as a football or a soccer, but a lot of people watch. Happy Gilmore probably was the most interested I was in golf. And, I guess it is like hockey, but it's like on the field hockey. How do we get more children to be involved, especially when us as adults, we know nothing about the sport. We're not really interested in the sport. It's not something that's really cultivated in our neighborhoods. How do we grow this love for our children? And Reggie B is 100% right. Franklin Park Golf Course is right here in the heart of the city. Everybody has access to it. I'm actually looking up right now whether or not there's some free classes for kids or what those classes would look like for parents that are interested. I'll go ahead and post it on the Wake Up with Tayla Andre page. But, how do you initially get a child to say, I'll try golf?
Well, it's taking them to the golf course or taking them to the driving range and letting them swing a club. And you'll be surprised how fascinated they are by it, because, like as you say, if we're not exposed to something, we don't tend to try to do it. And all of those people, like all those football players and basketball players and baseball players, so many of them have taken up the game of golf. Michael said if he hadn't played basketball, he would have loved to have been a professional golfer. But, they don't take it up until later, but you'll find that so many of them play the game. Jerry Rice, who played football and is in the Hall of Fame, and Marcus Allen, and all of those people play the sport of golf. But they didn't discover it until later on, probably in the middle of their careers. And it's a game that is a sport that is it's an individual sport. And it's a challenge to you because it's just you and the elements, you and the golf course. It's not only it's more of a mental game than it is physical, but it's also physical. I mean, if you look at how Tiger Woods really brought the physical fitness to the game and showed that you need endurance, stamina. And you really be in fit shape in order to play on that level, but to enjoy it. And it's the best business contact sport there is. Best business. Because you're out there on a golf course for maybe 4 hours. And as an adult, if you are playing with someone and you get a chance to know their personality, and it's not so much that you do business skills on the golf course, but you build relationships. And I think that we as adults need to teach our children so that they can grow in a sport, something they can play for a lifetime. And I mean, it teaches integrity, it builds confidence, self-confidence. And there's so many different values that it does teach. And I think that just getting youth out to play a golf club, they then begin to see what it's about, and then so many of them will continue to play it. I actually played a golf course in Boston when I was 14 years old, and it was called Ponkapog, somewhere in the Boston area there. I played a tournament, so that was the first time I'd ever been to Boston.
Well, we would love to have you back, darling. Maybe you could. We would love to have you back. That would be amazing if we could have you, because you are a piece of history, my love. I know you know this, but for those who don't know, we have a piece of history on the line right now, and I think it's a beautiful thing. And I would love to introduce children of the city to you to gain a love for golf. The same love that your father instilled in you. If you guys have any questions for Miss Renee Powell, please give us a call, 617-282-0062. We currently have a caller on the line. Good rising, caller, you're live.
Hey, good rising. It's Reggie again. Listen, Miss Powell, another question that I have for you is, well, let me just share something with you rather than a question. I'm going to share with you too, Taylor, since you don't know. But when you go play golf, you play 18 holes, 9 holes. It doesn't matter. But if you have something that's bothering you or you're going to get something off your shoulder, golf is the best game to go play because it makes you focus and it takes your worries off everything that is messing with you. So golf is an excellent game to go play because you focus and it gets you in a place your space and you're by yourself, even though there's other golfers around, but still, when you got a team of people around you, you are still focused on what it is you're going to do at that task, at that golf course, and it is a freedom. And then when you're finished playing that game of golf, whether it's 9 holes or 18 holes, you come off that golf course feeling refreshed, and you forget about everything that was bothering you that day. Trust and believe.
That's absolutely correct.
Thank you, Reggie B. You know we love and appreciate you. Ms. Powell, we have a question from Anonymous who said, could you assess Tiger Woods' fall off?
You know, Tiger his swing has always been a very powerful swing. And you can't, you know, a physical body will only take so much. And I think that there's probably two things. I mean, he had the incident that he had that when he stopped playing and for a while, and he had some issues. So I think some of the things are probably a little bit mental. Other things are, you know, he's had, I think, 3 back surgeries, and under the age of 40. And I think he probably came back a little early from the first back surgery because then he had to have another one. And one doesn't really know because it never comes out of his camp what's going on. So you don't know from a physical standpoint how healthy he is now. Because the body has to completely heal before you can put added pressure on it. And you know, in golf, swinging as Tiger does, it's a very hard swing that he made. And I think that he's dealing both with probably a little bit mental and physical. And as I say, golf is so much of a mental game. And now he dominated the sport for so long. No one ever saw anyone dominate as long as he did. And now all those young players have come up to be number one in the world as Tiger was. And so he has fallen back. And, you know, I think that's probably a hard thing to do. He's a lot older than he was now. I think he's played on the tour for 20 years, which is hard to believe. So, you know, time catches up with everyone.
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. Asaria asked me yesterday, Mommy, what's the one thing that goes up and never comes down? And I was like, a balloon? And she was like, no, you're wrong. It's age. No matter how old you get, you'll never get younger.
Older.
So as far as age is concerned, I'm seeing a lot of young kids come out and play golf. But I'm noticing that I can't think of her name right now, but she's one of the youngest players, the first Asian American female. Yes, Lydia Cole.
Yep.
So I guess my question is, okay, it's Black History Month, and I want to frame this question properly. Why are we seeing first, as far as nationalities, as far as women are concerned, why was this such a white male-dominated sport?
Well, why was it?
Yes, and now we're growing into seeing, you know, this young lady is the first Asian American female. You were, if I'm correct, the second African American woman. Why was this such a dominated sport where we're just now in 2016, we're seeing first of something?
We actually, when I was on tour back in the 60s, the first 3 Asians, Japanese came over to play, and they were the first 3 Asians to ever play the tour. But Lydia Ko is dominating the tour as a youngster. And there are, I think probably our tour is made up of about a third Korean players now.
Oh, wow.
Which was unheard of, you know, previous years. But, you know, so many sports have been white male dominated anyway. And it's taken a while to make that integration of other nationalities. And certainly golf has been one of those sports over the years. There's two separate tours. There's the women's tour, the LPGA tour, and then there's the men's tour, which is the PGA tour.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our tour, the ladies have really, our tour is much more international than the PGA tour is. And, they've found a sport that they love. And actually in Japan, they had the second largest tour to our tour. It was the Japanese ladies tour, of which the three original Japanese players that came over here to play had been played over there.
Oh, wow.
And that got started. But, it is all changing because golf has become so global. And actually, this is the first time that the golf will be in the Olympics in nearly 100 years.
Wow.
So many things have changed. It's become more popular in many ways.
Can you take me through that history? So 100 years ago, it was part of the Olympics, and then they took a 100-year hiatus, and they're now bringing it back. What happened?
I really don't know what happened in between, but as I guess some sports are there and then they disappear from the Olympics. But now there has been a lot of talk about golf becoming a part of the Olympic Games again, and so this year is going to be the first time that it's happened. And also to give you a little bit more insight into some things. The golf tee, which everybody uses, it's a little peg that you set the golf ball on, and the first get out to each hole. That golf tee was invented by a black man back in the 1800s, and it was by a man who was a dentist. His name was Dr. Grant. He invented the golf tee, but it took like 100 years before they recognized that he had a patent. Another first, so that's something that many people don't know. Another first was the fact that the very first American-born golf professional was a black man. His name was John Shippen, and that's because all the other, golf originated in Scotland, and so many of the golf pros in the early days came from Scotland and England to America. But the first American-born golf professional was a black man. So we, as black people,
Black History
have a lot
Month.
of history in the game of golf, which has been not known to most people, either whether it was black or white.
Wow. Thank you, Miss Renee Powell. Oh my goodness. Golf royalty on the line right now. If you have any questions, please give us a call, 617-282-0062. I did not know that. For this information, George Franklin Grant, I'm definitely going to go ahead and post that information. He created the tee as far as golf is concerned. What were they using prior to his invention?
What they would do is they would take dirt or sand and they would just build up a tee, from dirt. They would take and make a little mound, and that's set the golf ball on that. There's been a lot of
It's
changes
so
over the
simple.
years.
Wow. Thank you for that. That was definitely a piece of Black history. For those who want to know, again, his name is George Franklin Grant. And the other gentleman that she mentioned was John Shippen, Shippen. I'm going to go ahead and post this on a Wake Up with Tayla Andre as well, so you can share these Black history facts with your friends or family or however else you wish to share them. Miss Renee Powell, we have what we do for the people who can't call in or for the people who don't want to call in. We do this anonymous thing. People send me messages, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, ask questions anonymously. And one of the questions that we have is, how was it on tour being the only African-American female? How was it on tour being alone, and how did you cope with having all of that negativity directed towards you, but having the strength of your father within you to keep going. I guess the question is, how did you maintain your sanity on these tours that you were on by yourself? Or were you not by yourself? Did you have your father by your side? Did you have other family members or other women to support you, or even a mentor?
No, I was out there by myself, except
Good question,
for a while,
Anonymous.
Althea Gibson, who played, who most people know as the great tennis star also. She was the first black female to go on the LPGA tour. And she went on tour in 1963, got her card in 64, and I went on in 67. But it wasn't always easy, although the players that we played with, the players on tour were not the problem, because, you know, it was almost like a big family in a sense. So they were pretty supportive of each other, but it was dealing with the outside, dealing with the restaurants and the hotels, and, you know, as we traveled and some at tournament sites. I know that many times in the housing, sometimes we had you could stay in private housing. I know there was an incident when there were two of us at the local golf course, where one of the members had opened up their house to two players to stay. Because from time to time we would stay private housing, and when they found out that I was one of them, they only allowed the one person to stay, and I was left on my own. Fortunately, one of the other players found out that I had no place to stay, and invited me to stay with her, share a room with her for that week. So it was challenging, but as I said, you know, I would think back about, you know, like my parents did give me a pretty strong backbone, and I knew that I couldn't quit. I knew I had to keep forging ahead, and I never thought about quitting because of those incidents, because, you know, I would think about all those people like that had come before me too, that had to fight to make a difference. And so, and you know, I love the game of golf, and there were different times when players would stand up. I know there was an incident at a hotel one time when they lost my reservation and said I wasn't able to stay there. And one of the players actually was Kathy Whitworth, who was one of the dominant players on the tour, and then actually a Hall of Famer. She is one of the best players ever in the history of golf.
What is her name again?
Her name is Kathy Whitworth, Kathy with a K. And she went into the motel and she said, "We all stay or we all walk." So at different times, players would stand up, you know, when they found out that something was going on. But I know there were incidents when I would start to go into a locker room, and, you know, all you had to do is show your credentials, show your badge, and the security, there's security on the outside of the locker room. And I would show my badge, and they'd say, "Oh no, you can't go." And I'd have to have my peers, who I'm competing against, actually, to say, "No, she's a player. She's one of us." And then because they would see my face and not my credentials. And so there were a lot of different things like that, or, you know, where people were not so pleasant at the courses that we played at. But, you know, I mean, my parents had taught me that you just had to stand for your own rights. And I think the scariest thing was when I received threat letters on my life, and that was difficult. But we got through it.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. What was your lowest score ever?
Well, my lowest competitive score on tour was 67, which was 5 under par, par being 72. My lowest score ever, which was not competing, was 64. which actually was here at my golf course here.
What was the highest?
Oh, I don't even remember the high. You know what? I remember the highest scores, Tayla. And probably when I was a little kid. But I don't know. I would never kept track of that.
I would definitely want to know my highs and my lows. Even when I was a kid, I did 422, and now look at me at 67. Another question: what is your favorite golf course?
Well, my favorite golf course, besides Clearview, which is a course my dad built back in 1946, is probably St. Andrews, which is in Scotland, of which last year I became a member. Now, I became a member of the Royal Nation, actually, Royal Nation Golf Club of St. Andrews. But the golf course itself is in the town. It's a small town, but that's where the birth of golf. This year they had the Open, or the British Open, or they refer to it as the Open, was played at St. Andrews. And I was able to go there at the time to the British Open, and also the Royal Nation Golf Club, which is it's a building and a club, a building that is right there at that golf course. And for 267 years, they had a male-only rule. And last year, they had selected 7 women from around the world to become their first female members, and I happened to have been one of them.
Oh,
so there were 2 from the United States, one being a woman who, by the name of a great golfer by the name of Louise Suggs, who was one of the founding members of the LPGA Tour. So Louise and I became the first female members from the United States to become members of the Royal Nation Golf Club of St. Andrews. And so, in speaking of the founding of the LPGA, even it was done in 1950, and to this day, it's like 66 years ago, and we've only had 7 black women to ever become members of the LPGA.
Wow.
Over that 66-year period.
Wow. Mothers, fathers, do you hear this? We got to get our children involved.
You know, another thing is there are loads of scholarships for girls to go to college where it won't cost the parents a penny to go. You know, so for years, you know, there were always scholarships for boys. Now there are more and more scholarships for girls. But the fact that there are a lot of scholarships that go unused because parents don't know about them. So that is another reason. And with the cost of education continuing to go up every year, it's a way of our youth being educated in college at no cost to the parents.
So really quickly, so the PGA is for the men. The LPGA is for the ladies, correct? So when I think about women's basketball and men's basketball, it's more of like a physical thing, an endurance thing. The fact that they can't play on the same team because men and women are different, you know, as far as our bodies are concerned. But I feel like golf you should be able to intertwine those genders. There's no, you know, physical competition between the two. No, you know, he might push me, I might fall. You know, there's no fouls there. Why hasn't there ever been an integration of the two? Or has a woman ever played for the PGA?
No, well, actually, a couple of people had played in a PGA tournament, but no, it still is a physical issue to it because men are physically stronger than women, and if you're hitting the golf ball, if you're stronger, you're going to hit it further. Okay, so maybe where a male will hit the golf ball 320 yards or 330 yards, and a woman might hit it 230 yards or 240 yards. So there's a big difference. So therefore, it's going to take her. She's going to have a different club that she hits into the green. or it's going to take her longer to get there. So that is a difference. Now, years ago, it's the same thing with in tennis. You know, the men and the women don't compete against each other, again, because of physical strength. But Billie Jean King, remember, I don't know if you remember when there was an exhibition match between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. And Billie Jean actually beat Bobby. But Bobby was older than Billie at the time, but Billie Jean was the dominant female player at that time. But now there still is that endurance and that physical strength. And we talk about a lot of different things. We talk about armed forces. And now they are changing some of the rules where women can do, you know, some of the same jobs as the men do in the military. But there are still some things that, you know, in total society, you know, our bodies are not built the same as men. So therefore, you know, our strength is different. And it's going to affect us in most things that we do.
I completely understand. You made mention earlier how Tiger Woods had 3 separate back surgeries. When it comes to football, we know like torn ACLs. When it comes to basketball, sprained ankles. What are some of the health side effects of golf? Aside from the back, do most golf players have back surgeries, or what are some of the side effects when it comes to health issues?
Most don't. I mean, there are some things, I mean, you know, like tennis elbows, things like that. I mean, the thing is, when they come in any sport where you're putting, you know, exceptional time on it, or if you're like in golf. I mean, when I was a teenager in the summertime, I would be up hitting anywhere between 500 and 1,000 golf balls a day. So that's not the norm, but it was building up to become, you know, a great player.
Okay.
But you know, some people will have some back injuries. It may be carpal tunnel. But then a lot of times people get carpal tunnel problems and surgeries from typing. So there are not a whole lot of back injuries, but we do put some added stress on our body because we're doing, you know, repetition over and over and over, and more so than normal. So a little bit of swinging and twisting, and so that's when people will have stress injuries on maybe on the back, and maybe some knee problems because you're using your knees to drive the ball in the swing. But normally, I mean, that's when you're doing it on a professional level. You know, that you are playing more and hitting more balls and playing golf 6 days a week. The average person isn't doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But so from a professional standpoint, that's when you're seeing more injuries. But from an amateur standpoint, you don't see very many.
And I wanted to make mention of that because parents, we talk about the diseases, that concussion disease when it comes to football, and being mindful of our children's injuries or what could possibly be injuries as a result of playing these sports. We all know the injuries, the possibilities when it comes to basketball, the sprained ankles, the torn this, the broken that. So I wanted to put you at, and even baseball, you know, you can be hit with a bat, can be hit with a ball. I wanted the parents to know about the injuries, or the minimum amount of injuries in this sport, with hundreds, maybe even thousands of scholarships, especially for little girls. There's always been some for boys, but for little girls who could go to school for absolutely free for playing a game that can help them become stress-free. Because
you're absolutely right. And I will say this, I mean, there's always a safety factor in anything. Golf balls are hard and golf clubs are hard. So it's making sure that you're not in the way of someone who's swinging a golf club.
Of course.
Or hitting a golf ball.
Of course.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So and when I teach children, I'm always stressing the very first thing, and they all know this. I said, what's first? They always say safety. Because you don't want to be swinging a golf club and then somebody walks into it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So we are coming to the top of the hour. Miss Renee Powell, Dr. Renee Powell, the daughter of Bill Powell. So there's this meme that has been going around. I think I've shared it probably about 4 times in the last 5 or 6 years. And it always comes back. But this rising, I learned that it is false. So for those who are sending this meme out and generating this meme that says a black man in the mid 1960s, not allowed to join or play at the local country clubs, built his own golf course using his own land and taught the neighborhood kids. This is false because the golf course was built in the 40s, first of all. But I would like to go ahead and debunk this statement that people are, including myself, have circulated to be truth. And I would like the truth to actually be known about your father, Bill Powell.
Right. So you know, we were he built the first 9 holes literally by hand. He walked back and forth. He had a little cedar around his neck, and now people see how, you know, when they're putting a lawn in, and you know, and seeding the lawn. So he did this on a 9-hole golf course, and he had to remove rocks by hand off the golf course. He borrowed, you know, a farmer's tractor to sort of plow up some things, but then when he was seeding the golf course, he walked around back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, only with a hand seeder around his neck to see the entire golf course, the entire first 9 holes. And it was not until 1978 that he actually built the second 9 holes, and it's now an 18-hole golf course. It's also, people look it up, it's Clearview Golf Course. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. We are also now a foundation here called the Clearview Legacy Foundation for Education, Preservation, and Turfgrass Research. It's a 501c3, and so not only are we a golf course, but we operate a lot on fundraising and on donations. So, you know, people can support the golf course and our foundation, you know, because of this year being a milestone year. The idea is to preserve this golf course for at least the next 70 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's our goal, our mission for 2016.
Beautiful, beautiful. We have another caller on the line, 617-282-0062. We are coming to the top of the hour, but good rising, caller, you're live. Good rising, my queen.
Yes. Okay, quick question. Now, what are some of the requirements for that golf scholarship? So, you know, like you need to have a 3.2 or something like that. If you could speak on that, if you know, that would be really helpful.
Okay, so go ahead, Ms. Powell.
All right, so the requirements, well, you know, you were saying what was the highest score I ever had. Well, if you're shooting 100 and something, you're not going to be able to get a scholarship. I mean, the scholarship is, but you don't have to shoot par being around 72, but if you're shooting in the 80s, you know, decent scores. You have to have a decent player, because golf, when it comes to a team, it is a team sport when it comes to college or high school. You're not playing it just as an individual. And, you know, education, school, your grades are important also. They're important to get any kind of a scholarship to college.
Absolutely.
And so I would say that 2.5 on up probably help, but you know, anything closer to a 3 point. So education is important in everything in life. So the higher the grade point average, the better. But also, if you are a decent player, not a great player, you're able to get a scholarship. But if you're going in and you have all a 1.5 in school, you're not going to be able to get a scholarship just from an educational standpoint, which makes sense.
Of course it does, of course. So, Miss Renee Powell, I want to thank you for your time. I do know that you were traveling and are missing out on sleep right now, but I definitely want to thank you for your time. I love and appreciate you, and thank you. Thank you for the legacy that your father left. Thank you for uplifting and upholding this legacy, continuing this legacy. And I 100% support keeping Clearview Golf Course open for another 70 years. For those that are interested in helping and support this, how can they get in contact with you? How can they reach the golf course? Maybe if they're taking a trip, how can they come and visit?
Oh, that would be great. We'd love to have as many people coming to visit from around the country. We're located in East Canton, Ohio. Canton, Ohio is where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is located. And as we know, the Super Bowl is just played.
Mm-hmm.
But we're in Canton, Ohio. Actually, if they look us up on the internet and just look up Clearview Golf Course in East Canton, Ohio, they'll be able to find us. And that will take you into our webpage. And our phone number at the golf course is 330-488-0404. In the wintertime, there's an answering machine on because we're not open right now. But it's easy to find us looking up on the internet. If they look up Bill Powell or Renee Powell, Clearview Golf Course in East Canton, Ohio, or in Ohio, they will find us quite easily, and they can contact us. I can also give you our email address.
Yes, please.
Which is CV, like Clearview, CV46@AOL.com.
One more time, that's
CV46@AOL.com. So it was easy for me to remember Clearview in 46 when Daddy built the course.
Yes, absolutely. So that debunks that meme going around saying it was built in the 60s. It was built in 46. Now that we know, knowing's half the battle.
It's been a pleasure speaking to you. It's good rising, right?
Yes, good rising. So we had I want to say over a year ago, we had somebody come in and talk about etymology and the actual science of words and where words come from and what they mean. And we went through mourning. What does mourning mean? What is it to mourn? And when the sun is rising, we shouldn't be mourning. We should be, the sun is rising, just good rising. So we altered it.
And I love the morning. I mean, I'm a morning person anyway. So, good rising. I love it.
I'm glad you do. Thank you so much, Dr. Renee Powell. We love you. We appreciate you. And we hope you have an awesome day today.
Thank you. And thank you for giving me and sharing this hour with me. And I look forward to seeing you playing golf. And for many of your listeners coming to Clearview in 2016.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. You know what? I'm willing to play around. So right now it's closed. Come the springtime, come summer, I'm willing to play. I probably will have like a 200, maybe a 400, but I really would like to play. The children and I are going to, you know what? All I got to do is tell Adari he can drive the golf cart. That's all I have to do. He'll be down. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll talk to the children, see if this is something we can fit in and see if this is actually something that Asaria would be interested in. She just picked up basketball and I'm really proud of her for that. But let's see if golf would if she enjoys it. Hey, I don't have to pay for college. So, consider it, bring your children out, even tennis, all of these sports that we take for granted, they're right here in our backyard. We have to utilize what we have. We have the tennis right here on Blue Hill Ave. We have the Emerald Necklace, the entire golf course of Blue Hill. Let's utilize what we have in front of us. Let's try this out. And Reggie B, let's do something for the summer or the spring for children for a day for them to come out and play golf. And even if it's just like 1 or 2 holes, let's do something so we can expose children or let's get in contact with somebody. Let's do something so we can go ahead and put golf out there and circulate it as a sport to be considered at least. I love you. I appreciate you. You guys know how I feel about this Beyonce, right? Y'all know how I feel?
Illuminati mess. Paparazzi.
Hi, babies. I love and appreciate you. I hope you guys have an amazing day today. I can't play the song for you because if I play it, YouTube won't play the video. So I love you. I appreciate you. Beehives. I'm so proud of Beyonce right now. Swag. I want it. I want it. Mwah. I own it.